Let's talk about the Leagues Cup final, of course. The Seattle Sounders beating Inter Miami 3-0 at Lumen Field on Sunday night. And Jake Zivin, good friend of the show, was calling the match with Taylor Twellman at Lumen Field, and he joins us now. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be. I'm happy to be mistaken for the great Taylor Twellman anytime.
Well, apologize for that, but hey, I mean, mistakes happen, right?
Y'all are just such a dynamic duo that it's
there you go. Hey, I love it. I love it, man. Absolutely. Taylor's my guy. That's great. I'm serious. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you were there with them, obviously at Lumen Field, and I think Jill was there too. Jillian Sakovitz calling the match. And Sounders get it done, adding another trophy to their cabinet. First team of MLS history to win every single trophy available to them. Just take us through the atmosphere at Lumen Field. I was looking at it, and I'm sure Henry saw the tweets, saw the video, MLS Season Pass of the atmosphere. You were there. Just tell us how it was experiencing it in person.
It was great. It was great. And we were talking on Wednesday. We were in Miami. We had just finished up the Miami-Orlando game, and we were talking about what it would be like if the Galaxy win, what it would be like if the Sounders win that semifinal. The Galaxy, they could probably fill up 25,000 on 3 days' notice and with celebrities and everything, and that'd be great. Can Seattle fill it up, or get to the point where they can even open the upper bowl on 3 days' notice? What would they be able to do from a ticket sales standpoint? And to sell it out, the biggest crowd in the history of Lumen Field. They broke the record of MLS Cup 2019. Remarkable. And there was an incredible buzz from the moment I got into the city on Saturday, going to the stadium. There's people everywhere. And then once you get in there, I mean, it felt like a real important event, an important occasion. And it was a final. It was a proper atmosphere, as you would say. And the game delivered. I thought it was highly entertaining, a wonderful matchup. And as you said, the Sounders just keep doing it. I have had some Timbers folks texting me and in my mentions to remind, which as somebody who was calling these games, the Sounders have not won the MLS is Back tournament, which the Portland Timbers did win, and so they have not, I guess, won every trophy available to them. Also, the Superliga was around in 2009 and 2010. So the Sounders are missing the Superliga and the MLS is Back trophy. But no, of the trophies currently available to them for North American teams to win in North America, there's also the Club World Cup, right? Which, I mean, we're not gonna worry about that. Maybe one day, but not yet. For an MLS team, yes, for the trophies currently available to an MLS team, they're the first to win all of them, which is a remarkable accomplishment.
I was going to ask you, I mean, obviously you've called the Timber matches before MLS Season Pass came along. I was going to ask you, when you go to Lumen Field, do you get like Timbers fans bantering you or anything like that, or they treat you right?
Look, I first of all, I love it up there, and I have so much respect for Brian Schmetzer and the Sounders organization, and look, I've probably called. Obviously, the most games I've called are the Portland Timbers, most games of a single team, but the Sounders must be second. All the Timber Sounders games over the years, we used to do a joint preseason stream because they'd always play each other on like February 1st in Tucson, and they'd get a couple thousand people to these games. This kind of basically not a high school football stadium, like bleachers in that Keno Sports Complex in Tucson that have all the MLS teams. It'd be the one game down there that would really fill up these bleachers. I would be like me and Steve Zakowani doing this joint broadcast. And man, I loved it. I loved those games and loved those broadcasts. And now, on MLS Season Pass and even ESPN and Fox in the kind of 5 or 6 years leading up to Apple and MLS Season Pass, I called several Sounders games on national TV. So, I know them well, and I've called a lot of their games. And I don't know. I don't hear it a ton from Sounders fans. Maybe they don't know, which is fine. But look, when I take my job, of course, very seriously as a neutral and objective commentator and broadcaster. And, while I have a lot of love for the Portland Timbers organization and the people there that are my close friends, and still do a little work with them. When it comes to calling games, it's straight down the middle, 100%. And man, I've called a lot of great games at Lumen Field, and I find it a privilege. I mean, I remember there was a weekend in 2022 when I called a game on Saturday night for the Timbers local show in Providence Park, and Sunday afternoon at Lumen Field for ESPN. Wow. And I was just like, man, how lucky am I, right, to call games on back-to-back days in these incredible American soccer environments, where me growing up in Chicago, going to Soldier Field as a Fire fan, wanting it to work, wanting it to be relevant. And now it is in these two major cities and in these two incredible venues, and to be able to call games back, I was just like, I'm so lucky. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about Seattle and Lumen Field. And it was as good as it's ever been up there yesterday. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and Lumen Field, huge for the Sounders in terms of finals. 5 finals that they've played there, 5 finals that they've won.
Yep.
This most recent one, I mean,
and also won like in the 90, I think, right? Maybe one of the Open Cups went to extra time, but I mean, they haven't even gone to penalties in any of these. I mean, it's 5-0.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this most recent one, let's kind of talk through it a little bit. How did Seattle get this done, right? You got an opening goal from Asazi de Rosario. You have, for most of the game, it's like back and forth. Miami has its chances. Messi incredibly misses that one chance. Man, it's Messi. How does Messi miss that? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
And then the Sounders just put it away at the end of the game. Just walk us through how they got it done.
Yeah, it's so impressive. I mean, and I think we talked about it a lot on the broadcast, and we set up the game this way. This was a matchup of two teams that built their success at this point in different ways. You have Miami that are doing it with the global superstars, and they are breaking ground, and they are bringing in these incredible players. They're spending a lot of money to do so. They're showing a ton of ambition to do so. You have the Sounders, who over the past 3 or 4 years have gone deep into the developmental pipeline and all into every stage of the pro pathway, from academy to MLS Next Pro and Tacoma Defiance, and then onto the first team. And they showed off their depth in this tournament in a remarkable way. I mean, there's 8 guys who did not play last night because of injury or suspension that are starters for them. Jordan Morris, Paul Arriola, who has been out, Ryan Kent, Albert Rusnak, Stefan Fry, João Paulo, Nuhu, Danny Masovsky. Now Steph is back, and Brian Schmetzer gave this tournament to Andrew Thomas, but that is a showing of strength in your depth. And he was goalkeeper of the tournament, Andrew Thomas. Albert Rusnak was back on the bench only to take a penalty if it were to get to penalties. He's not ready to play yet. He's a couple of weeks away. Those 8 guys could all start. João Paulo's a little past it. You're either going to start one of Jordan Morris or Danny Musovsky. You're not going to start both of them. Likely, you could put Jordan on the wing, but the way it's been this year, Jordan is the 9, Danny's the number 2 9, right? Rosario's the 3rd string. De Rosario's a 3rd string number 9. So 8 guys, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter who gets called upon, whether it's Reed Baker Whiting, a 20-year-old filling in at left back for Nuhu, whether it's Osase de Rosario, who 2 months ago would have looked at this weekend on the calendar and had been planning to be in Utah, playing the Real Monarchs as a member of the Tacoma, leading the line for the Tacoma Defiance. Yeah. And instead, because Morris is injured and Musovsky bumps the referee in the quarterfinal and gets suspended an extra game, he's starting, and he is scoring the biggest goal of his life against these global superstars who have won everything. It's remarkable. And then who earns the penalty? Georgie Manungu, a guy who they pulled out of not obscurity, but a lower league in Europe. And they brought him into camp, I think, in 2023, and they were going to sign him to the first team because he's a really good player. But then he developed an eye infection in their preseason trip that ended in him completely losing vision in one eye. It was so serious. And because of that, not because he lost the vision in the eye, but because of basically losing the preseason and having to go through the medical procedures, he was signed to Tacoma Defiance instead. But now playing legally blind in one eye, he figures out how to do it and earns the spot onto the first team, comes off the bench, earns a penalty, again, against these global superstars that have done everything. It's Alex Roldan that takes the penalty, a guy who 4 years ago was going to get cut. He was a central midfielder, and he was going to get cut maybe 6 years ago, 5, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they moved him to right back and signed him and said, we think, well, we'll give him one chance. We'll sign him and put him at right back. And now he's an all-star and one of the best right backs in the league. And then the capper is Paul Rothrock, who, is just Brian Schmetzer is just a genius and a wizard, and obviously can see the future, because 2 days ago he says they've got Messi, but we've got Paul Rothrock.
Yeah.
And it comes across a little tongue in cheek, but it's not. Like, he believes that. He believes in these guys. And he believes in every member of the organization. And because of that, and because of what he instills in them from the moment they get there as academy kids, they're ready for these moments. And Paul Rothrock scores the goal, and you have the jersey exchange. I mean, everybody the 100 people, because there were only 100 available, those 100 people that exchanged the Messi jersey for a Paul Rothrock jersey before the game. I mean, and now he scores it's incredible. They're gonna frame that jersey, that Paul Rothrock jersey. It's just it's an incredible story. It's remarkable what Seattle did, and they deserve to be praised and lauded and respected, because it is one of, to me, the biggest accomplishments of an MLS team, just in how they've done this and how they built it, and the depth throughout the organization. It's what every team should aspire to be.
No, for sure. And I was going to ask you next about that Rothrock goal. I mean, had to be him, right? Based on what Schmetzer was talking about a couple of days before the match, like you just mentioned, the jersey giveaway before the match. From a personal standpoint, calling it, I was listening back to your call of the goal, just calling that in that moment. What are you thinking as a broadcaster?
Yeah, number one, when there's 70,000 people in the stadium going nuts for these moments, personally, my philosophy is punch it, meet the moment, but let the sound of the stadium and the pictures of the stadium come through, because that's where the goosebumps come from, man. I mean, and so I try to hit it initially, and it was kind of a broken play where it wasn't in rhythm. Alex Roldan was trying to play it to whoever was making that run in front of Rothrock, and it went behind him, and kind of Miami didn't really react, and Rothrock runs onto it and scores. So it wasn't really in rhythm, which is fine. Hit it, lay out for a little bit, let some stuff come through. We saw Eddie Vedder, I think, at some point, right? And then just punch it, right? I mean, I don't plan out goal calls. I love the nickname Paulie Primetime that the Sounders fans have kind of bestowed on him for a long time, and he just has that look, doesn't he? And so I went there. I don't like calling game over in soccer before the final whistle, but at 3-0 in the 90th minute, it is game over. So, I didn't, on the Roldan goal at 2-0, 86, I didn't say they've won Leagues Cup. I said they're minutes away or whatever it was. But with this one, hey, the Sounders are gonna win Leagues Cup. Punch that, lay out some more. I think I did come back in because then we showed Eddie Vedder, and I don't know, I probably made a bad Pearl Jam reference, and then lay out a little bit more, and then let Taylor take over. So yeah, you just want to meet the moment, and also when the atmosphere is as good as it is, not you're never going to overtake that atmosphere, but realize that the old VP of broadcasting at the Portland Timbers used to say, the game in front of you is the steak. Don't put ketchup on the steak. You just need a little salt and pepper, right? Just sprinkle it, just punctuate it, accentuate it, but don't overwhelm it. You don't need to. And not every game is a steak, right? And not every atmosphere is a steak or a quality steak. But man, last night was so yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and you got to say, like, almost 70,000 fans. That's a pretty darn good steak, isn't it?
Filet mignon right there.
I'm not a steak guy, so I can't give like the right at Wagyu. That's probably the best stuff.
Yeah.
Mignon, exactly. Yeah. No, that was as good of an atmosphere as I've ever been in. Just wonderful to be a little part of it.
And the game, fantastic. It's awesome to see, the Sounders of players like celebrating this moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, afterwards you have this incident on the field, right? You have these not great scenes, man. It's just, players are pushing around. You see kind of a little bit of a scrap going on the field. You see Luis Suarez spitting at a member of the Sounders staff. It's we got a little bit of you and Taylor kind of talking about some of the stuff as it was going down, but tell me what was going through your mind and your perspective on this stuff.
I think, like you said, first and foremost, it's a shame that that's how this night ended, and for some people will be remembered. Right. I mean, we were back at the hotel after the game, and in the hotel restaurant having a bite, and SportsCenter was on, and SportsCenter showed that, and not any goals from the game. Right. And that's media. I get it. That's what's going to get the headlines. Right. I mean, if this were in England or Spain, the front page of the paper the next day would be that. Right. And that's, I get it. Right. But it's just a shame that, because this was a wonderful game and a great atmosphere, and it was interesting. And, look, I rattled off the names of all the young guys that stepped up, but it was also the way they shut down, the Sounders shut down Lionel Messi. I mean, they were all over him. Obed Vargas was amazing in the game, and obviously got under the skin of Inter Miami, but by playing well, not by playing dirty. And other than the couple moments from Miami, the Sounders were great. That's what the game should be remembered as. And it might be ultimately, I hope it is. And Sounders fans will remember it that way. But, the general public will remember Luis Suarez. It looked like, right, he spit on somebody, spit on a member of, I believe it was the head of security for Seattle is who that was. It's too bad. We didn't see what started it. It's going to get sorted through, obviously, right? And the discipline will come down from the various, the organizations that have jurisdiction over it. Whether that extends into MLS play or not, I don't know, right? I mean, obviously it's possible to be suspended across competitions in the sport of soccer. It's also possible to just be suspended within a competition, and for next year's. We'll see. But it's too bad. It's too bad. Overall, it's just too bad that's how the night, not how the night ended, but those were the scenes after the final whistle.
Yeah, and I mean, you just saying that, SportsCenter kind of showed that and it didn't show the game. That's just unfortunate, because we just talked about all these fantastic players that have amazing stories, right? That performed in this game, and this was a huge moment for them, and this should be, celebrating them, and we shouldn't be. I don't really think that this game should be talked about in the light of the stuff that happened afterward. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should focus on the game and the soccer and the stories behind that. That's what needs to be elevated a lot more.
But look, I get it. For the average sports fan in the United States, seeing Lionel Messi's team getting into an altercation after losing is going to resonate more than seeing Paul Rothrock score a goal and Osase de Rosario score a goal, because they're not, those guys aren't going to be known, unfortunately. Right. For me, I'm a diehard MLS fan, right? Like, for me, I would be if I'm watching SportsCenter as a fan at a young age, of course I know these guys and I want them, want to see them and want them to be talked about. But I understand SportsCenter's editorial instincts, right, to go with what they went with.
But Jake, the 100 plus people that swapped their Messi jersey for Paul Rothrock jersey, like that's what they're going to remember. Right?
And we had, I think it was during the celebration, or maybe it was, I think it was when Rothrock was getting subbed out, because he scores the goal, he gets subbed out, he's got this $1 million smile on his face. I mean, just he's beaming, and he's a hometown kid, 70,000, like, what a moment. And then our director, Jim Dodonna, takes a shot of somebody with a Rothrock holding up a Rothrock jersey that still had tags on it. So we figure, like, maybe that guy or that person who had that was one of the 100, probably, right? Or just went and bought it on his own, a Paul Rothrock jersey before the game, which, good for you if you did that. But that was a great shot and a cool moment. And then the game ended. That also caught. There was meant to be, behind the scenes a little bit in television. We'll get word from the fourth official of what stoppage time is going to be a minute or so before the board goes up. I never say it over the air because it changes, but producers will always get in our ear and say, we're told 5 minutes, which is what was the case last night. We're told 5 minutes. I'm not going to say that, again, because it can change and whatever. Just wait for the board to go up, builds a little drama that way anyway. And then you don't say something wrong and have to backtrack on yourself. You don't assume that risk. So that's what we were expecting. And there was a penalty. There were 6 substitution windows. right? 2 goals in the second half. But the referee just decided to end it like 30 seconds into. All right. So, all right. So then, oh man, there's the final whistle while we're, I think, showing this other stuff and trying to tell the story of the jersey exchange. Well, now we got to just transition to calling the final whistle. Yeah, but man, no, it was just, it's perfect. And, what a story. What a story, man. Paul Rothrock, Paulie Primetime, and those Seattle kids, he grew up, carpooling with Jackson Reagan to training. They both grew up in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, which is right next to downtown in Seattle, urban, dense part of Seattle. And neither of them were signed as homegrowns. Both of them went to college, and both, I think Jackson was drafted by Chicago and didn't sign, and signed with Tacoma Defiance because he wanted to give it a go in Seattle, but they didn't offer him a homegrown deal. And I don't know if maybe he wasn't eligible, but he was an academy guy. I'm sure he would. Sometimes it can be like he's in the academy, but something happens. He didn't keep up with summer training while in college, so he's not eligible, whatever. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he wasn't signed as a homegrown. He decided to go for it, signed with Tacoma Defiance. He's one of the best center backs in the league. Paul Rothrock didn't even, out of college, Tacoma Defiance, I don't know if they offered him or not, but he signed with Toronto FC 2. And he played for Toronto FC 2 in MLS Next Pro for a year or two before then coming back home and signing first with the Tacoma Defiance. And these two kids, who are not technically homegrowns on the roster, but are academy guys and are Sounders through and through. It's just a wonderful story, right? I mean, and their manager has been part of the team for 45 years. 45 years. He signed as a teenager out of high school with the Seattle Sounders. Yeah. Like in 1980. And now he's led them to winning every trophy they can win. He was an assistant for the Open Cups, but now as the head coach. I mean, it is a great, great story. And it's something, again, that every professional sports team around the world have to be envious of, because it's ultimately, right, professional sports at their best are about civic pride, right? And civic engagement. And this is the team that is representing your city or your region or whatever it is, your college, against others. And that's what it's about. And for this team to have the spine of its success built on people from that city and from that, it's just, that's what you want. And a bunch of Seattle guys just beat the best player in the world to win League's Cup.
Yeah, pretty amazing story. And you mentioned, of course, Brian Schmetzer. That guy is leading me to my next question. Two-time MLS Cup winner. Of course, 2016 came on for Ziggy Smith after he was let go. They, of course, won MLS Cup that year. 2019 won it. Runners-up 2017, 2020 Champions Cup. We mentioned that earlier. League's Cup now. So 6 trophies won in the Schmetzer era at this time. Where does he rank among MLS coaches, do you think?
Number 2. Taylor and I were talking about this after the game. We were sitting there, and I would go, Taylor, I was thinking about it. I was on the Oregon coast this weekend, and I had a long drive to the airport on Saturday, the Portland airport, and then I flew up to Seattle. And I was thinking, I was like, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of coaches. Yeah. I think right now, if he wins this for sure, top 4, just, all that success, 10 years now. He's the longest tenured coach in the league now. And so I said that to Taylor after the game, and I'm like, I think he's definitely, like, I would say 3, like Bruce, Ziggy, and then maybe he's past Ziggy by now, right? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. But it's also a different time in MLS. But I think there's a real argument that he's number 2 behind Bruce, behind only Bruce. I mean, Bob Bradley, of course, ton of success. Ziggy Smith, a ton of success, and the Coach of the Year award is named after him, and rightfully so. Caleb Porter has won MLS Cups in 2 different places, but he's also missed the playoffs a lot, right? But he has done that. Greg Vanny has won MLS Cup in 2 different places, but I just think Brian Schmetzer now winning CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is he's the only one to do it in this current format, right? Yep. The LA Galaxy and DC won it 25 years ago when it was played at 8 teams, an 8-team tournament played on one weekend, or within 1 week in one site. Great accomplishment, but different tournament. He's now won League's Cup. It's just, and you look, you've got guys like Wilfried Nancy, an incredible coach who has done great things and like changed maybe the perception of what an MLS team can be and how they look and how they play. But ultimately, it's about winning. And Wilfred's won a lot, but it hasn't been as long. And if Wilfred stays for 10, 15 years, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think there's a real argument. It's Bruce and then it's Brian.
Yeah. No, I was thinking too. I mean, the only time they've missed playoffs in this tenure is 2022.
Yes,
and the only time they finished outside of
Champions League that year.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And that's the only time they finished outside of the top 4 of the Western Conference. And then when you look at the roster, I mean, they're talented players, but no one. I want to be careful how I say this. So you can look at it and say this is a bona fide superstar MLS. Maybe Jordan Morris is the closest. I think,
but you're right. And Taylor did a great job of talking about this on the broadcast. They have done it in different ways for the 17 years. They started out with like the early era were big ambitious signings. Clint Dempsey, Obafemi Martins. Those were huge signings, particularly at the time in MLS. They were household names around the world and in the US, and they had a lot of success. They didn't win an MLS Cup, but they won a Supporter Shield and they won US Open Cups. And then they transitioned to like the shrewd designated player signing that Ladero, Ruidiaz cost money, but were not household names, but were incredible players, right? And the top 2, 3, maybe 1, depending on how you want to rank it, in their positions in the league for 5-6 years, led the Sounders to 2 MLS Cups. But now they've transitioned to kind of the homegrown, the pipeline, the MLS veterans, right? I mean, you're going for trading for Jesus Ferreira. You're putting a lot into Jordan Morris. You traded for Albert Rusnak, right? I mean, he was a designated player at Salt Lake, and then everyone was a trade. They signed him, I think, but they went and got Albert Rusnak from within the league. So they've changed the philosophy even then, and it continues each way. It works, and they evolve, and they still win. And so Brian Schmetzer, Craig Weibel deserves a lot of credit. Of course, Garth Lagerwey before Craig Weibel. And again, I think I said this earlier. They use the entire pro pathway as well as any team in Major League Soccer, and maybe by far, I think they use MLS Next Pro. It's early in the MLS Next Pro thing, but by far better, by far the best of any team in MLS. Philly's got their academy, and that's great, but and they come through Philadelphia Union too before Bethlehem Steel, so that's part of it. But because it's not with the Sounders, it's not just academy, Tacoma Defiance, Seattle. There's guys like Osase de Rosario, Georgie Manungu, who were not academy guys, but signed to Tacoma Defiance first, and then brought into the first team. Right. And so they just, they use it just so well in every way. And it's very impressive.
Yeah. Model club in MLS, I would think at this point in time, and a model for really all teams to follow in the league. Gotta let you go here in a little bit, but kind of switching back to league play. Obviously MLS is on an international break this coming week, and then things kick back up in 2 weeks, I should say. When you look at the standings, and we look at the Supporter Shield race right now, Philadelphia at the top, San Diego right behind them, Cincy just losing to Philadelphia, so they're kind of questionable to win the Shield at this point. I mean, who do you see kind of standing out at the top of the mountain when it's all said and done?
Like you said, Philadelphia and San Diego threatening to make it a 2-team race. I mean, before this weekend, I thought and still think this is going to be the best Shield race ever, but maybe it won't, right? Maybe it's going to just be Philadelphia and San Diego, which would be great, but we've seen 2-team races before. I mean, it was looking like this was going to be a 6-team race, right? Like down to the final couple of weeks. It might, but that was a huge win for Philadelphia, a huge win for San Diego on the road. They've won 7 straight road games, I think. It's remarkable.
Wow.
And to do it in at LAFC, to spoil Son Heung-min's debut, I keep thinking to myself, like, okay, they're for real, but can they really do it like with real pressure on, like in a playoff game or at LAFC and Son Heung-min's debut? Yeah. And the answer is always yes. It's always yes. So no reason to doubt San Diego the rest of the way. Philadelphia the same. There is still Inter Miami, who have 4 games in hand and are 11 points back.
little chip on their shoulder too, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's all exactly.
That rematch is coming soon too.
Don't poke the bear. Oh, that is September 16th
at Chase
Seattle
Stadium,
Miami. Yes, that's going to. We're calling that game. Cannot wait. Wow. It was a big game regardless, and we were really excited to go down there and do it before even the Leagues Cup final was set. And now and then honestly, then when the Leagues Cup final was set, it takes a little bit off the regular season game, because the regular season game was going to be billed as these two big clubs in MLS, right? And everything we built last night as, right? These different and kind of styles and philosophies of how they built their success, but they're both successful. And so then it's okay. Well, now we're getting this 17 days earlier. That can maybe take away from this rematch. The same thing happened in 23. Leagues Cup final was Miami at Nashville. And then I think 6 days later, this is 17 days later, 6 days later, Nashville played at Miami in a game that was kind of a dud, right? Because it was just, there was this elation and this high of the Leagues Cup final. It was an okay game, but it just didn't have that. This will have that and everything after what happened at the end of that game. Should be great, right? Get a little rivalry between Seattle and Miami. So yeah, but look, if they win, and games in hand they're easy to talk about, but you've got to win them for them to matter. But if anybody can win 4 games in hand, it's Miami. And if they do that, then they're atop the Supporters Shield, because they're 11 points back with 4 games in hand. That's 12 points if you win them all, and now you're on 58. But there's a long way to go for them to do that, and certainly that's not a guaranteed thing at all. But they could get their names in there, and then it just takes one little slip up from Philadelphia or San Diego and Cincy or Charlotte. Is Charlotte going to lose? If Charlotte doesn't lose, they're going to win the Shield.
Oh.
They might keep winning. It's remarkable. So I think it's going to be a really good race. Yeah.
Real quick, what are you doing for the international break? Do you have the weekend off? I saw there's a few matches.
Yeah, no, there's Sunday night soccer. It is Austin at Sporting Kansas City. One of the 4 matches this weekend. So we'll be in Kansas City. Austin trying to stay above the playoff line. Kansas City have had a tough season. This is one of transition, but the transition feels like it hasn't really started yet, because Kerry Zavagnin's still in as an interim, and maybe that's where they go after this season. But this is kind of the in between. Peter Vermees, fired at the beginning of this year, and they're 8 points below the playoff line. They have a game in hand, which is this weekend. Essentially, they could cut it to 5, which is doable with 5 games to go. But I mean, they need a miracle. But they've got Dejan Jovalic scoring a ton of goals. He has a career high. I think he's at 16 right now, which is impressive, and it's under the radar for a team that is where they are in the standings. But an interesting game for us during the international break for Sunday night soccer. So yeah, we'll be in Kansas City on Sunday. MLS Season Pass and Apple TV Plus. So yes, there's a lot of international soccer. Enjoy it, but if you're going through some MLS withdrawal, we still got you on Sunday and Saturday. There's a few games on Saturday as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, always a pleasure to talk to you. Always good to catch up with you, get your insight on MLS and Leagues Cup. A really fun match last night, but as you know, always welcome back anytime to
anytime. You guys doing okay in Atlanta?
We're hanging in there.
A little better after this weekend.
Yeah, you won a game.
Finally.
Against a good team, against a really good team.
Exactly.
You're hurting Nashville. We would have been talking Nashville, Philly about the Supporters Shield, but they're 7 points back now thanks to Atlanta United.
Yeah. Hey, there's a chance. It's a slim chance, but
as a boyhood Chicago Cubs fan, let me tell you, there's always next year. There's always next year, man.
All right.
There you go. Jake Zivin, always a pleasure, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Great to see you guys. Anytime.
Cheers.
See you, Jake.